with coverage you can count on. This is the Erie News NOWCAST.
Good evening, I'm Haley Potter. Thanks for joining us for tonight's edition of the Erie News NOWCAST. We're continuing to follow developing news on immigration here in Erie. Erie News Now is learning more about possible plans to bring immigrant children caught in the U.S. southern border crisis to temporary housing right here in Erie. We were first to tell you about the offer of dormitory space owned by businessman Glenn Renaud. A plan to use these dormitories owned by Mr. Renaud, space that was once part of the Family First Sports Park, to house fleeing children until they can be reunited with their families, would be done as a contract with the federal government. USCRI couldn't comment on any of the details of such an agreement, but when we started asking questions, Congressman Mike Kelly's office, who knew nothing of this when we first reached out yesterday, started asking questions on our behalf of the White House and of Homeland Security. Here is the response from the Department of Homeland Security on where this offer to bring these vulnerable, unaccompanied children to Erie stands so far.
Look, we've got a crisis at the border. It was up until these last few months, we had some control at the border. We had some directive at the border. We had some organization at the border. I just think that right now, this has nothing to do with who's in office. This has to do with actual policy handling a crisis. Not addressing it doesn't help the situation.
And while there are still a lot of unknowns about the possibility of children from the border coming here to Erie, one thing is for certain: church leaders are ready to help. Faith leaders like Bishop Brock of Victory Christian Center says the church's mission to open their doors for anyone, and he and his church are ready to help if needed. He understands that people may already be hurting here in Erie, but he thinks no matter where you come from, you deserve to get assistance.
Whoever comes, we must be able to help and provide relief. Please remember that this entire country is built on immigration. We are a country of immigrants.
And Brock's church isn't the only one who wants to help. Coming up at 11 o'clock, our Elspeth Meisner has ways you can get involved too if this were to happen. And vaccinations continue to increase around the region. As of today, more than 74,000 people have been fully vaccinated. Erie County has more than 51,000 fully vaccinated residents, and Crawford has more than 18,000 fully vaccinated residents. Today, Pennsylvania crossed 1.9 million vaccinated residents. You can always find the latest COVID-19 facts and figures on our website, erienewsnow.com. And the Presque Isle Partnership says Discover Presque Isle will happen this summer, but will look much different than in years past. Last year, the partnership canceled the annual festival celebrating all things Presque Isle. Organizers say they are carefully monitoring health guidelines from the local, state, and federal officials. They tell us that specific details about the event will be released at a later time. Event organizers say they are working to reimagine Discover Presque Isle. One thing that is for sure is that organizers will not be holding large events on Beach 11. Instead, organizers say they will focus on natural and recreational offerings at the park. This year marks the 100th anniversary of Presque Isle State Park. And Amtrak could be expanding its service in Erie, the rail agency confirms to Erie News Now. The additional stop is part of President Biden's proposed American Jobs Plan, the $2 trillion infrastructure package unveiled last week. Erie would be included in a new daytime train running from New York City to Cleveland. Connections in Cleveland would then take riders to Columbus, Cincinnati, Toledo, and Detroit. The president has designated $80 billion for rail expansion in his proposal. And Chautauqua County parks will reopen to the public on May 5th. The county closed parks last year because of the pandemic. The parks in Portland and Carroll will be open to the public from 8:30 a.m. until dusk until November 1st. The Chautauqua County Parks Division says it will keep restroom facilities closed. County officials say any gatherings with more than 20 people or needing a gazebo requires a reservation. We have more information on our website, erienewsnow.com. And also from Western New York, it will be a big summer in Jamestown because it's the 70th anniversary of the I Love Lucy show in her hometown. The good news is that the National Comedy Center exhibits that salute Lucille Ball, as well as the Lucy Desi Museum, are all open in a safe way. In fact, the National Comedy Center is credited with reopening its museum with a special Laugh Safe plan that's received allocates. It's still best to plan ahead for a visit, but they've pivoted in a way to keep everyone safe so they can relax, enjoy, and of course have a laugh.
We took what is lauded as one of the most interactive museums anywhere in the world, which was named to Time Magazine's World's Greatest Places list, and we revamped it to be touch-free for the COVID era. So the head of epidemiology at UPMC Medical Center called it a superlative approach to keeping people safe so everyone can relax and have a good time.
Now, the Lucille Ball Comedy Festival, which was a digital event last year and usually brings thousands of people to Jamestown, will be offering outdoor events this summer. It's all in keeping with gathering size guidelines for the times. And 13 months after the start of the pandemic, PA restaurants and bars finally got some promising news, being able to stay open later and welcome 75% of their capacity back. However, as Pennsylvania restaurants get their bar service back, the staff and the patrons seem to be used to staying at home. I checked in with some local bars. Calamari's is one of them that are able to stay open until 2 a.m. without an issue. However, Reservoir 26 and Otis 12 are both still cutting back their hours because they aren't getting the late night crowds. And some other restaurants are having trouble extending hours because they are short-staffed. We will hear from a variety of restaurants and bar owners coming up on Erie News Now at 11. Thanks for joining us for the Erie News Nowcast. Join us for our next news at 10 p.m. on the CW and 11 p.m. on WICU and WSEE. Have a great night.